Strat-O-Matic Excel Carryover League. Brought to you by the Shrimp Troll.
(1973 to 1976). Welcome back, baseball fans, to another 1973-76 Carryover League ball game. Today, we start interleague play, and we have a series between Las Vegas and the Chicago White Sox. Now, what's so interesting about this is White Sox started the year by losing 3 out of 4 to Baltimore. So they'd like to clean up against a lesser quality opponent when they can, because they have a tough schedule otherwise. And why Las Vegas is so interesting, a year ago in the National League, the Chicago Cubs were in first place in the postseason tournament. They had to play their way in. They beat Las Vegas, but they lost some games and they fell into a wild card, and the Reds won the division. Then, lo and behold, when the playoffs started, the White Sox, as a wild card, drew Las Vegas again. So they play back-to-back series, end of the postseason tournament, and in the wild card. The Cubs, the Chicago Cubs. And the Cubs knocked out Las Vegas a year ago. So now it's the crosstown rival gets to play Las Vegas. So how about that? It was the Cubs Vegas last year. That's the last time we saw Las Vegas last year. And now it's the Chi Sox this year in the battle. Matter of fact, I think we might be able to check out the... We could, let's see here. Let's go take a look here in game. Maybe here. How do we find this? Okay, let's take a look at the elimination from a year ago. Yeah. Vegas lost in the wild card versus the Cubs, but still finished 9 games over 500. I recorded the data from a year ago. The Cubs advanced to the next round but lost in the divisional series versus the Cincinnati Reds. Finished 7 games over 500. And of course, the White Sox lost in the ALCS versus Oakland, ultimately finishing just 5 games over 500 because they had a very tough schedule. So there's a little review of a year ago. Let's give you a little review of Game 1. Series open in Las Vegas. Wilbur Wood and the White Sox versus Jim Lonborg and the Las Vegas team. We get an RBI sac fly in the first by Dick Allen. RBI single by Muser. It's 2-zip. Stays that way into the 5th. After a double and a walk and a guy cut down at the plate, Dick Allen awakens after a early season struggle. 3-run homer, Dick Allen. It's 5-zip, and we're thinking, okay, they'll cruise to a victory. Not so fast. Orta surrenders a defensive single in the bottom of the inning, and that runner scores. Makes it 5-1. Bottom of the 7th, after a couple singles, Juan Benitez with a 3-run homer. We got a 5-4 game, and the bullpen's getting ready. Not necessarily needed, because in the 9th for the White Sox, they bat around with 3 walks and 3 singles, score 3 times. And a 5-4 game turns to an 8-4 game. They go to Gossage anyway with a 4-run lead, and he doesn't get a save because of the lead, but finishes the game out, and the White Sox get the road win they desperately wanted. So we have an interesting Game 2 here in Chicago. We have Ken Brett. We're going to bring this down just a tad, up there a little bit. There we go. Interesting Game 2. Las Vegas will send Ken Brett in his 1973 Philadelphia card, 13-game winner, 3.44 ERA, and 212 innings for the Phillies. And the White Sox will send Jim Kitty Cott out there, a guy they made a deal for in the offseason. His 74 White Sox card is a 21-game winner and a 2.92 ERA. You know what's interesting, folks? I got Brett on the Phillies and Cott on the White Sox, and I'm thinking, were these two pitchers traded for each other? Because I recall that Cott ended up on Philadelphia, and I do remember that Ken Brett, I can picture him in a White Sox uniform. And I'm thinking, I sort of remember Ken Brett in the shorts. I'm sure the White Sox folks out there could bring that recollection back. Back when in that little summer of the short shorts that the White Sox had, did Ken Brett play for them, and did he pitch wearing shorts for them? That'd be kind of a funny little bit of trivia. Anyway, back to the matchup. Ken Brett, Jim Cott, battle of lefties from Comiskey Park. White Sox would love to win this game and get back to 500. Let's get started. Leading off for Vegas, Sandy Alomar. 1-7 pops out. Gray Gross, 2-6 walk. Ken Berry, 2-10. 5-4-3 double play. Bottom of 1. It's Brian Downing leading off because of his high on base percentage. 310 flies to left. Buddy Bradford, 310 left. And Lamar Johnson, the big batting average leader on the team, 4-4, third X. Third baseman, great defense. Vegas is known for it. 1-13 A-Rod. Relio Rodriguez makes the play. Speaking of defense, Lamar Johnson is designated hitter today. So his bad defense is not on display. Dick Allen's playing first base. We have Tony Muser on the bench. Top of 2, it's Barry Foote. 67, base hit. Mike Anderson, 58, flies left. Juan Beniquez, 1-8. Let's take a look at Juan Beniquez card. Nice little player. Boston Red Sox in 1974 playing center field. Well, I got some news for you, Juan. They're going to get some kid named Fred Lynn next year, so your days are numbered. Which is why you should probably find, if you want to play, instead of sit on the bench, go for Las Vegas. Go to Las Vegas. You get playing time. That's what a lot of these extra players do. Juan Beniquez in a nice year in 74 with a 267 average. 1-8's a double to center field. Barry Foote will hold a third. Now you got Tommy Davis. 67 is a base hit off the Cott card to center field. Beniquez has wheels, though. He'll try and score from second base off the Henderson arm, and he does! The fleet of foot Juan Beniquez, his bat and his legs. 2-zip visitors. Tommy Davis is a B stealer, but he'll stay there with a -1 arm. Brian Downing. Relio Rodriguez, 2-9 is a single. Where's this offense coming from? Not known for it. 2-1, 1 out. Ed Brinkman. 45 off Cott. Fly ball to shallow left field. And with 2 outs, Sandy Alomar. 56 is K. 2-zip visitors. Dick Allen steps into the box. 2-7. It's a strikeout. Bill Melt 1-7. He strikes out. Ken Henderson. 3-6 is a walk. B stealer. Foot's got a -1 arm, and just 2 out, you're down a couple. Let Glenn Beckert swing away. And former crosstown Cub, Beckert, now with the White Sox, rolls to first. Top of the third, it's Gray Gross. 2-6, walk. Ken Berry, 36, single dot. Cott struggling. On the corners for Barry Foote. 48, he pops out. Mike Anderson, 310. Left B question mark, trying to run Gray Gross. He's a 14, 15, 16. He will score. 3-zip. Beniquez with 2 outs. 2-7's a single. 2 on, 2 out. Tommy Davis, 34, rounds a short. Jim Cott brought in not just to make the staff, but to get up to 2. Leap over Bart Johnson and also leap over Stan Bonson, who they still have now is in the bullpen, and Tom Bradley, who they let go on waivers. So a lot of big expectations for 21-game winner Jim Cott. Clearly, he doesn't have his stuff today. Bottom of the third. It's Bob Coluccio. 3-7's a K. Bucky Dent, 58 is K. Brian Downing, 1-6, it's a walk. Buddy Bradford, 1-4, center. Into the fourth we go. It's Aurelio Rodriguez. Original A-Rod, as he's often known as. Center X. We have Ken Anderson's 2 defense in center field. E6 makes the play. Easy Ed Brinkman. 1-4. Triple 1 to 11. It's a base hit. Sandy Alomar. 56 is a K, and with 2 outs, Gray Gross, 63. Second X, but you got Beckert, a 3 second baseman. The 12 second baseman gives up a single second baseman, and the inning continues. Can't get any defense at second base for the White Sox. Order's worse. Ken Berry, 2-5 grounds short. Well, mercifully, they don't score. The Vegas team, this is an offensively challenged team. They do have 3 runs, but they've wasted some opportunities. They put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 men on base. I've scored just 3 times. Good news for White Sox here in the fourth. Lamar Johnson, 54 off of Brett. Homer, 1-18. It is gone. Lamar Johnson. Is that number 1 for him? He had 4 homers and 222 at-bats in 1976. But he has 1 here. 3-1. Dick Allen, 68. Flies right. Bill Melton, 43. Left X. Out in left field, you got Gray Gross at 2-1. Again, great defense for this team. However, unfortunately, he's not a 1. A 2-1 is darn close to being a 1, but you're still a 2. That means you still can give up a hit, and he just gave up a double. Tough break for Vegas. Now you got the tie run is Ken Henderson. 38's a K, and with 2 outs, it's Glenn Beckert. 5-10 is a walk. 2 on, 2 outs for Bob Coluccio. Big moment here for the youngster. 57's a strikeout. All right. 5th inning for Cott. Keep it together there, Jim. Have not put a guy on every inning. Barry Foote, 2-7's a K. Mike Anderson, 2-10 center. And Juan Beniquez, 5-10 catcher's X. Brian Downing's 2-5. Innings over. It's a 3-1 game. Bottom of the 5th. Let's pause a moment for station identification.
This is the Shrimp Trawler video channel.
Este es el canal de videos de camaroneros.
All right, bottom of the 5th. It's Bucky Dent. 2-7's a base hit for Bucky. Back up top for your tie run. Brian Downing. 57's a K. Buddy Bradford. Same thing, 57's a K. And Lamar Johnson, who homered earlier. 1-6. Let's take a look at the card now for the youngster. So here was the biggest offensive improvement. They let go of Carlos May. Best year was 72, and from there on, he's just, he's a jag. We often say that. He's just a guy. But Lamar Johnson's something special here in 76. He's a .320 hitter in just 222 at-bats. Doesn't have a position, sadly. First base, left field, both poor. Dick Allen's not even playing first base half the time. They got Tony Muser, who has a nice bat. Allen's usually the DH, which means Johnson's got to play left. And Coluccio's usually the defensive replacement. They move it. They juggle it around. They do have some flexibility in this Tri-Sox lineup for that sort of thing. 1-6, triple 1-3, single ... It is a single ... Tying runs are aboard for Dick Allen. Let's take a look at the card before he swings. 1973, Dick Allen. So he had an injury. He missed some time. He had 250 at-bats, but you prorate his stats, they're every bit as good as his 1972 MVP stats. You could even argue they might even be better. So that's great news for the White Sox to get a same time of performance. He's not going to get the MVP. He didn't play enough. And frankly, Reggie deservedly got the MVP for Oakland in 1973. Here's your pitch to Dick Allen. 66 off Brett's a base hit to left field. That'll score a run. Lamar Johnson will knock a gun down a third. By the way, Lamar Johnson's a 9-runner. Ooh. That explains some bad defense, too. He just can't get to stuff. He's slow as can be. Footnote that. So, Johnson at second, Allen at first in a 3-2 game. 3 hits in the inning. Now it's going to take Bill Melton to hit one in the gap to score Johnson to tie the thing. Or better. Here's the pitch to Bill Melton. 210 is a ground ball to short. 3-2 game. Fun stuff here in Comiskey. We go to the 6th. Tommy Davis, 66. Double 1 of 10 off of Cott's base hit. B Steeler, A-Rod's going to do a little hit and run action here. 8 moves the runner up. Runner at second for Ed Brinkman. 5-11 is a walk. Jim Cott struggling again. First and second, 1 out. Sandy Alomar. 45 flies to shallow left field, and with 2 outs, it's Gray Gross. 59, second C. Now Cott starting to pull the string, putting the guys on, but making the tough pitches and critical moments to get out of these frames. Woo! Making it through the game, keeping his team within a run, clearly without his best stuff. Bottom of the 6th. Ken Brett is a starter 8, Cott's a starter 7. And here is Ken Henderson leading off the bottom of the 6th. 62, a comebacker to the mound. Glenn Beckert, 1-5 is a walk. Beckert's been a nice addition. He's made some nice plays in a utility role. Not an everyday player at this point of his career, but he's helping the White Sox out. He's the Tyrone. And it's Bob Coluccio. He's not helping his team out. He's really struggling this year trying to make a connection. 1-2 is a walk. Big break. Actually, he draws a decent amount of walks. Couple of that with guys like Beckert, who draws walks. And, of course, you got Brian Downing. A lot of on base for your Chi Sox. 2 on, 1 out in a 3-2 affair, and it's Bucky Dent. 110 for Bucky, flies to left. And with 2 outs, it's back up top to Brian Downing. 38 is ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Buddy Bradford. Let's take a look at this Buddy Bradford card. It's pretty interesting. Bradford crushes righties, but it's 238 average because of the high percentage versus lefties. You know, frankly, he's just probably not suited to be the number 2 hitter. We just leave him there because he doesn't hit into many double plays, draws some walks. And frankly, with the bases loaded, we don't need a hit. All we need is a walk or hit by pitch, and we got a tie game. So that's all we need out of Bradford. Get us to Johnson and Dick Allen if you can. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Here's your pitch to Buddy Bradford. 66 off Brett's a base hit to left field. That'll score Beckert. Coluccio has wheels. Bob Coluccio, what is he? He's a 15. Where we hit it to? Left. You got a +1 arm of Gross. It's a 15. It's a 16, 17, 18. Bob Coluccio scores an 11. And the White Sox take a lead. Coluccio rewards the Chi Sox with his wheels. We got a 4-3 game. Downing goes to third on the throw. And it's Lamar Johnson with 2 on and 2 outs. 1-7, you saw the card earlier, and Lamar Johnson delivers double 1 of 7, single dot here, and it's now 5-3. The White Sox have got their offense clicking in the last 3 frames. They woke up today. Good to see. A portent of good things to come, you'd think. You've got Gossage, and you got a lead, and you even have Forrester in the pen, so you got to be feeling good here. Runners in the corners, 2 outs for Dick Allen. 410, Dick Allen, center X, but you got a 1-1. Ken Berry in center field. And that's how the Vegas makes their bread and butter, you know? All these X's, you think you're going to get a break, you don't get any breaks. Not against Vegas. You got to get hits on your card or hits on the pitcher's card. You're not going to get any breaks on X's. 5-3 into the 7th. Now, Kitty Cott. So what do? He's clearly struggled the entire time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's put a 12-burger on board. Barry, Foote, Anderson, Beniquez, all better against lefties. And I am pulling the trigger. I've seen enough. So, Cott will leave after 6 with a lead, a 2-run lead. You have Gossage. You could just go to the 3-inning save principle, because you know if you win the game, the series is over and I'll have a couple days off. And that is what the White Sox are going to do. How about that? Rich Gossage coming on in the 7th inning. 3-inning save, relief 4, daring to Vegas. You can do whatever heck you want. You're the most pathetic offense in baseball, really. On the bench, you have Ken Boswell, Ron Hodges, Tom Hutton. Not going to scare the White Sox. Defensively, matter of fact, Tony Muser is going to come into the game. We're going to stick him at first base, take Lamar Johnson out. Lamar Johnson has done what he needed to do offensively today. How about that? What a nice little Lamar Johnson story. He had the best start in the Baltimore series, even though his defense cost them a game at one point. And now he's 3 for 4 again. Good start for the youngster. Tony Muser will come in for him and play first base. Now they got all the defense you could ask for, and they got Rich Gossage. You try and score 2 or 3 runs off of him. Good luck, Vegas. We go to the 7th. It'll be Ken Berry against Rich Gossage. 4-4 catcher's X. That should be a hit, and it's a catcher's card because there are no hits on this card. Catcher's a 2E5, and that's an out. Berryfoot. 1-8K. There are 2 teams in Major League Baseball that can do this, and the other team that can exploit it even further is the Dodgers and Mike Marshall. We've seen that if you watch the last Dodger broadcast. Dodgers are off to a hot start, and they're letting Mike Marshall finish every game. And he is limitless in use. Gossage, not so much. We're trying to not overwork him. He led the league as a closer in relief innings. He could probably do it again, but we don't want to go for 3 inning saves too often. We're only doing it because this is an elimination game. 2 outs, Mike Anderson. 1-4, flies to center field. All right, 5-3 game. Bottom of the 7th. It'll be Bill Melton. 37's a walk. Ken Henderson, 67, flies left. Glenn Beckert, 2-6. That's a double play. All right. We go to the 8th. It's Beniquez. 48 is a K. Tommy Dave is probably the best hitter against right-handed pitchers on the team. And he gets a walk. Aurelio Rodriguez, now you can start. They don't have to worry about the repercussions of bringing in a lefty because you know the White Sox aren't going to take Gossage out. So they can just go to Ken Boswell here. Like it really matters a whole lot. Boswell hit 242 and 75 for the Astros. And probably is the best batting average of any of the guys on the bench. As Ron Hodges hits 260 and Tom Hutton hits 202. But Ken Boswell, the third baseman, will pinch hit for A-Rod. 54 off Gossage is third X. This is Bill Melton, and he still can pick it. Well, he's a 326 at third base. Got to back up your pitcher. And he turns the double play. Bill Melton on the 326 gets the GBA. You can also chase a result. Anytime you see a high E rating making a good defensive play, it meant a very high percentage is rolled. And so if I go over to fielding rating, and by high percentage, 98.29%. Yeah. If you have a glove on your hand, you're probably going to turn a double play in that situation is what we're saying. Okay. Just put a glove on. It's a double play. I think all the E48 shortstops and E37 third baseman could even turn a double play on that roll. But, all right, we'll plug in that double play for Boswell. And we'll go to the bottom of the 8th. Brett, he'll come out after 7. He's put a lot of guys on. They need to get to rotate their bullpen. We're going to go Danny Frisella here in the 8th. Nice pickup, Danny Frisella, former New York Met. Now with the Padres in 75, with a 3.12 ERA. He's one of these righties known for getting lefties out. But however, in the 8th, he'll face Bob Coluccio. 56 is a K. Bucky Dent, 59, second X. Again, good defense out of Sandy Alomar, 2E19. You're just not going to get on base on the Vegas defense. And with 2 outs, Brian Downing. 410, third X. It's Boswell now, so now you could get on. He's a 4E23. This is an error. That's why, they go with their starters. They just do not want to allow a defensive miscue. Every defensive miscue really makes it difficult for Vegas to get victories. Buddy Bradford, 68, off Frisella's a walk. 2 on, 2 outs, and it's Tony Muser in the 3 spot now. 4-5 for the lefty, and Frizzell's specialty is getting lefties out. He gets Musso to fly to shallow left field. We'll go to the ninth. It's still a 5-3 game. A lot of pressure still out there. You get a guy on base and a fluke home run. We got a tie game. Of course, not a lot of power on the Vegas squad, as Brinkman had 7 homers. Then at the top of the lineup, Alomar had 1, Gross had 0, Barry had 3, Foote had 11. Hodges and Hutton on the bench. I just got to go with every lefty at this point. We'll do it by batting average. We'll go with Ron Hodges as a .260 hitting left-handed batter to pinch hit. Here's the pitch to Ron Hodges. 1-7, Hodges gets a base hit off of Gossage in the ninth. And it's up top, Sandy Alomar. 2-9 for Alomar's liner to short. Now you got Gray Gross with 1 out. 2-12, fouls of the catcher with 2 outs. It comes down to Ken Berry. Let's take a look at a card for Vegas. Ken Berry, this is the last good card for him. What a great defensive center fielder this guy was. My goodness. He had a 1E0, 1E5, 1E1 seasons that I'm aware of. And that's late in his career. Who knows how good he was early in his career. One of the best defensive center fielders that hardly anybody knows of. And 73, he's still hitting .284. After that, he'll still have decent defense, but the batting average will disappear. He is at the plate with a runner at first and 2 outs against Rich Gossage. Here's the pitch. 56 off Gossage is the strikeout, and that is your ball game. And we have the Rich Gossage effect. This is how the White Sox want to do it this year. You get a clinching game, we double down and say, nope, Gossage is in. And that'll get you 2-0 series sweep. Exactly what the doctor ordered. Wood in game 1, Gossage closing out a tight game 2 where the White Sox came back. We'll go right to the box on this one. Take you right to the post game. Gossage, a 3-inning save. That wouldn't be the first time he's done that. In this appearance, you got, a hit, a walk. And how many strikeouts we have? We have 1. We have 2, 3. So that's 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. 6 innings for Cott. Gets the W. Not very sharp. 9 hits and 3 runs. We'll take it if you're a White Sox fan. You get 3 walks. You get 3 strikeouts. Frizzella in relief. That was just 1 inning, not 2 innings. What did he have? A walk and a strikeout. Ken Brett loses this one. 7 hits and 5 runs. No errors, of course. All earned. Did walk 7, strikeout 8. A lot of walks. A lot of them on the White Sox card, but a lot on Brett's card as well. 1019, 0108, 57310, 57310, 4689, 8946. By the way, I'd be remiss. I left one thing out. I forgot to mention the 7th inning stretch music. What we've been listening to. But it's just because this is a classic. Didn't want to leave this out because I didn't mention this in the bottom of the 7th when I normally give my musical credit. The impression's brilliant. Curtis Mayfield's The Young Mod's Forgotten Story. 1969. My goodness. I had this 45 when I was a kid. 7 years. And The Girl I Find was the B-side. Wow. I had that 45 as a kid. Also Mighty Mighty. I had that one too. And matter of fact, let's throw down 7 years with more volume. So we finished this post game. Okay. Back to the post game. Would have thrown it in there for you. All right, thanks. 1019 0108 57310 4689 8946. Game 2. White Sox needed that. I mean, it's not a big, like, ooh, the big bad White Sox or whatever, but no, you got to just take care of your business. You play the games that are on your schedule, and Vegas was a first place team a year ago. Let's not forget that. Somebody from that division has to win it. Could have been Arizona, could have been Colorado, could have been Portland. It was Vegas. White Sox are now 3-3, riding the ship a bit. They're up to a 2.24 average. They really struggled against Baltimore for that low mark. They got a 3.95 ERA, Rich Gossage in 6 games, 6 innings. Not remotely concerned about that. Rich Gossage threw 142 innings in 1975, no starts. The White Sox tried him as a starting pitcher in 1976, gave up on that. He ended up on the Pirates, and we know the rest. Then he ended up on the Yankees. But Gossage, 142 innings, yeah. If he stays close to an inning per game, I'm okay with that. Particularly with the misuse that Mike Marshall's about to get. That's his first save for Gossage because they only won 1 game against Baltimore. Not a lot of homers. Dick Allen had the 1, and the other one is Lamar Johnson in the game you saw. That's all they have had. And frankly, Lamar Johnson's 8 for 23, 340 average. That's nice. But really, they're still trying to get this thing together offensively. Vegas in the National League. Where are we with them? Well, the good news is it's a winnable division. Arizona's 0-6, and Colorado's 1-7. And now you know why Las Vegas won the division a year ago. Vegas is now 1-5. They're hitting .220 with an ERA of 6. That ERA of 6 is ridiculous. There's no reason. It's, by the way, just to further emphasize the defense, the pitching staff has allowed 37 runs and 36 are earned. That's how great the defense has been. The pitchers have just been walking guys and allowing hits. They've scored 19 runs in 6 games, given up 37. So they deserve the awful. And believe it or not, the 4th team, Portland, looks like it might be there a year because they're 6-3. This is like a low-hanging fruit. Just, don't screw up too bad and you'll walk into the division title in a lousy division. So that's where we are very early in the young season. With that, break up your Chicago White Sox. They took out the trash, as we often like to say. 2-0 sweep of the lowly Las Vegas team. And they win 2-0. They're at 500. Thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.